What's up, you guys? Alexa, stop. So in the mornings, I have Alexa play meditation music. If you have one and you don't use that feature, you should. Like her meditation music. It's Amazon Music's meditation playlist, but it's legit. It's so good. So friends, I want to talk to you about something that came to mind today that I love so much. Oh my God, the moment I stand up to do a video, you guys, Mac is so angry. Legit, he was sleeping. He was snoring a second ago. The moment I start talking and stand up like this, because I didn't want to sit because I'm going to be sitting most of the day, he sits up and is like grunting over there, pissed at me because I'm not hanging out with him. Like, he gets so mad. My goodness gracious, this poor dog. I mean, geez, I'm such a bad mom, right? How dare me? How dare me talk to the camera and not him? Jesus. Anyway, say what's up as you guys are jumping on. Let me know that you're here. Happy, what is today? Wednesday morning. It's going to be 85 degrees in St. Louis today. Over the weekend, it was like 30. So weird. Anyways, something that I wanted to share with you is something that I learned and have been really just implementing over the past couple of years, specifically the past year, I would say. And it was an eye-opening thing. So a lot of times, like unbeknown to ourselves, society, our family, our friends, ourselves, whatever, history in our lives, put labels on, we put labels on ourselves. Chrisley. Good. I'm glad I'm not the only one whose dog is just like so taken back by the fact that I am, doing life and not including him. Good morning, Ryan. So I have all the beverages. The water, the coffee. Anyway, so what we don't realize is a lot of times these labels are put on us in our lives where, like, for a great example for me is that, like, I grew up dealing, I guess my teens and early 20s, you're the strong girl. Like, you're so strong. You deal with all of these things and you're so strong. Like, that's the conversation, right? And so what ended up happening was I spent my entire life being the strong girl. So, like, there was even a time a few years ago where I remember, like, having a very, like, emotional moment and Tony being like, wait, what? Like, you feel this way? Like, I didn't even know you had feelings like that. That was like a woo guy, like, eye opener. That was like 3 or 4 years ago. But what's interesting is that, again, not just based upon, like, that's what I was told I needed to be. Like, I had to be that person. So we get these labels and these obligations that come into play, and then we just feel like we have to live up to them. And this is all very subconsciously and naturally, and we don't even realize we're doing it until we realize that, like, something's off. Something doesn't feel right. Something's not serving us. Like, what is that thing? And if you are able to identify it, a lot of times that's where it's coming from. It comes from people that we don't, or it comes from people or our past or our lives and these things that we used as, usually we use them as ways to get by, right? Meaning it helps us be better or grow or deal with whatever's happening. So it's not that it's not serving us, but at one point or another, but long term it typically isn't. And so about a year ago, what's funny is a year ago right now, I was in Iowa, which I want to make a video about, just about what happened in Iowa, because I feel like it's super important to talk about. But basically I was in like a living hell for 2 months prior to coming back. And so I actually moved back the end of April last year. But during that time, I was working with one of the most magical, like, educated humans that I know, and he had said to me, Jamie, like, what if you just were you? Like, what if every morning you woke up and you were just Jamie? And so this morning during my morning routine, that came up again, and I was like so grateful for the ability to be that. And so I wanted to share with you guys what that means and how you can maybe start to, like, contemplate or process that in your world and in your head too. And so what it is that, what if every morning you woke up, instead of putting on your clothes and being like, cool, I have to go be the strong guy, I have to go be this girl, I have to go be whatever that thing is that you think you must live up to and be, Instead of like putting on that hat the moment you walk in the door or walk out of your bed, basically out of your bedroom, like what if you were just took a few minutes and you were like, who am I right now? Like, how do I feel right now? What do I need or want right now? And so by practicing that the past year specifically, it has altered so many things in my own existence, in the way I'm navigating life with everyone else. But I really just think it's such a liberating thing, and it's such a freeing thing. And it's difficult to do just in your regular world, because it takes a lot of self-awareness and a lot of ability to really recognize that and make shifts. But the thing I wanted to say today is, like, when you are running a brand, it's like a mind fuck, because you're like, but I'm supposed to show up as, you guys, a lot of you have been following me for a long time. Like, I've shown up as the girl who is going to tell you like it is, who, in a very compassionate, loving way, there's no nonsense, no bullshit, and I can tell you how to get shit done, right? While those are still very active pieces of who I am, it's all really shifted a lot too, as I've shifted. And so I remember I used to like have all of these ideas, like, I'm gonna get on live stream and I'm gonna talk about this, or I'm gonna do, whatever it is, because this was the person that I was, like, this was my brand, this is like my identity, right? Instead of like, my identity is that I'm me, my brand is that I'm me. And one of my coaches, from one of my very first coaches, told me this fucking 6 years ago, 5 years ago, 4 years ago, however long ago it was. That's how she lives. Like, she's Kat, and she shows up and she's who she is, and people love her for that, right? And so it never really fully made all of the sense that it does to me now, until I realized that, like, even in your brand, you do not have to show up as fucking anything anybody else expects of you. You show up as you. And if you're acting from a place of integrity, and you're acting from a place of integrity and of compassion, and that's your motivation and that's your intention, then whatever it is that shines out of you that day is enough. It is right. It is the correct thing, because you're just being you. And that's a commitment I made. That's part of the tattoo that I have, right? Like, is to show up and be me, and to shine and do what feels right to me, and to be consistent in that. And so realizing that that doesn't mean that you have to put a label on it and say, okay, here's Jamie, she's going to tell you how to get shit done, she's going to tell you how to be a badass, and she's going to da-da-da-da-da. Like, that's the only thing I'm going to do, though, because I can't be the girl who talks about crystals and tarot cards and spirituality and mindset. Although I still do, right? And even though I was doing those things, I still put on that label, right? And so remember realizing that we are multifaceted humans, okay? Like, we are so many things mixed into one being, that we're kidding ourselves. It's like we're doing ourselves and the world and everyone who knows us a disservice by saying that I'm only going to be this one thing. And I'm only going to show you this one thing. Maybe two or three things. And that's all I'm going to show you. Like, think about that for a minute. How much of a disservice are you doing to everyone in your world if you're not showing them all of the parts of you? If you're not showing yourself and accepting all of the parts of you, like, that's the first thing. Like, that's the most important part of it. That's the most important part, but that's what leads into everything else, because then it is authentic. When you've identified the pieces of you, all of the things that you could consider labels, maybe, like, you can be this and that and this and that and da-da-da-da-da. Like, every day you can wake up and say, well, today I'm Jamie. Like, what does that mean? Today I want to work all day and write things and do technical stuff. Tomorrow I might want to not. I might want to do work, mindset work all day and talk to you about your brain and human behavior. And that's okay. One day I might be full-blown badass mode, like, let's go out and conquer the world. And then the next day I'm like, not today. And those are all okay. So that's what I was wanting to talk about. I remember it was Greg Anderson who said this to me initially, and about the, like, what if you just show up and be you? And he goes, and I get it. It's difficult when you're running an online business and you have a brand, because you think you have to be one specific thing and you have to show up as this one thing, instead of just showing up and being you, which people enjoy better. I've had marketing managers, I've had marketing companies, been approached by so many fucking PR firms and all these places that say, like, you need to niche down and only work with this kind of person. You should only work with men, or you should only work with women. You should only talk about this. And I'm like, no, I do not agree. And, and for some people that might be the right answer for them, but for me, it's not. And I'm not just necessarily even talking about your business. I'm just talking about you as a human. Like, as a human being, as a person who's showing up in your life, you need to let go of the labels. Like, you owe it to yourself to let go of the labels and be whatever it is that you are, and know that that's okay, and honor it and own it. And if you don't like that thing, then work on what you can do to shift it. If there's parts of you that are resentful or angry or whatever that you don't really thoroughly enjoy, then let's identify them. Let's work on them. Let's, see where they're coming from and be able to release a lot of that so that you can be the things that you do like. And, you guys know I'm a firm believer in not adding to the noise and not, like, adding negative nonsense into the world as a collective, because we have enough of that. Like, we need to be adding good or not adding anything at all. And so, but that's what I mean. Like, if you're going through and you're like, okay, so I'm not going to be the badass boss guy. So what does that mean? Well, I'm really angry all the time with everyone. Hey, Kyle. Or, like, I think I'm Billy Badass and that fucking guy doesn't think so. So I'm pissed and I'm resentful of him and I'm disrespecting him and right? Like, if you're noticing those things and you're like, that really doesn't feel good. Like, you may not say it out loud, because a lot of people are like, I love being this asshole, blah, blah. I'm like, okay, cool. Like, what's underneath that, though, that you need to deal with? I don't say that to them, but I'm like, okay. You'll come to that when you need to. But the truth is like, what if that doesn't feel good? Being that Billy Badass guy that, like, you decide that you need to hang your hat on. Like, what if that doesn't feel good to you? What if at the end of the day, when you get home, you feel shitty about yourself? You feel crappy and guilty about the way you treated people, about the way you treated your wife or your girlfriend or your coworkers or your employees or whoever, because you were on this pedestal of having to be this, like, rah person? Or what if you think you're supposed to be super meek and never talk about your feelings and never express yourself or your own opinion, and at the end of the day you get home and you think that's what you're supposed to do because that's what people expect of you, and you get home and you want to scream or cry, or you feel like you're going to burst into flames because you said none of the things you wanted to say that day? Like, at the end of it all, in the quiet moments, if it doesn't feel good, those are the things that I would suggest poking at a little bit and figuring out how you can shift them. But they're there for a reason. And putting a label on yourself and putting on a different hat doesn't do anything with those things. It just pushes them down more. And at one point or another, they're going to boil up. So they're going to show their faces. So you're doing yourself a disservice by putting on a different hat and pretending like it's not there. So that's one of the things I think is happening to a lot of people in this slowdown, in this situation that we're in, where we've been forced to slow down right now and pay attention to some different things and notice different priorities. Like, one of the beautiful pieces of that is understanding that because of it, you have this beautiful space now that maybe you didn't have before, where you can pay attention to these things and notice what's underneath of it. And maybe you remove some of those hats and those labels and those masks, and you choose to wake up tomorrow and say, how can I just be myself? Like, what does that look like? And it's a practice, and it's an act that takes time and takes commitment. So I definitely write it down in your journal, revisit it tomorrow, revisit it the next day, however that works best for you. But it's something to keep in mind and to check in with yourself at when you have those moments of not feeling good about the way you behaved or acted, or the mask you had to put on, or it just doesn't feel fulfilling and it feels resentful and all those other things I just said. Pay attention to that and see where it's coming from and what it is. So that was my message today. That's what came through for me to talk about. I'm really digging the live streams standing up. It feels a lot different and I like it. I know that's weird. But anyway, happy Wednesday. Hope you guys have a good day. I got to get some stuff done before my next call. So love you all. As always, if you like the message, please give it a thumbs up. And if you think this is a message that other people would benefit from, I would appreciate it if you share it here or wherever you want to share it. I always appreciate that. Enjoy the rest of your day. Anybody who's watching, any questions, comments, anything, as always, put them here in the comments and I will reply to every one of them. Love you all. Bye.